Good evening, everyone. My name is Carlos. I am the Community Outreach Facilitator here at Free Minds. I want to welcome everyone to Free Minds on the Same Page right night, a mutual exchange of hope and healing between incarcerated poets and the community. Our featured poet ambassadors tonight are Free Minds members Rob and Yusuf in conversation with myself and my co-host Sofia, our community engagement coordinator. I want to extend a warm welcome to our returning night writers and to any new volunteers that are here for the first time tonight. We have Free Minds members who are home in the community and are also joining us. Please put in the chat where you're joining us from and if this is your first right night or if you attended a Free Minds event in the past. Also, before you leave a comment, make sure you click on everyone to make sure we all get to see your comments. Our our incarcerated poets will be thrilled to know how many community members are supporting them and what cities and state and countries they are joining us from. Here's how it's going to go tonight. We will have a conversation with Rob, Yusuf, Sofia, and myself, and we will have a chance to answer any of your questions until about 7:25 Eastern. Please put any questions you have in the chat or in the Q&A button below at any time. Then we will share some quick tips on how to use our platform Miro and how to give some poetry comments on the Miro platform. And then we will all be joining on the same page. Now I'm gonna turn it over to Sophia, who will introduce our poet ambassadors for tonight.
Thank you so much, Carlos. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight, as well as Yusuf and Rob and all of our amazing Right Nighters returning, and also some new members of our community. Now I have the honor of introducing Rob and Yusuf, our amazing poet ambassadors. So Robert is a Free Minds Poet Ambassador who first joined the book club in 2019. Rob was incarcerated at the age of 16 and he was sentenced to 30 years to life, but he used that time to read voraciously, earned an associate's degree in business administration, and when he returned to the DC jail for nearly 2 years in a petition for his early release, he became both a mentor for young adults and a participant in the Georgetown Prison Scholars Program. In 2020, Rob co-founded More Than Our Crimes, which advocates for DC residents in federal prison and amplifies their voices when they return home. He was released in February 2025 under the Incarceration Reduction Amendment Act, also known as IRA, which is a DC law that allows for people who committed a crime under the age of 25 in DC and have served at least 15 years of their sentence to petition the court for resentencing. Today, Rob directs More Than Our Crimes full-time, works as a Safe Passage ambassador for DC, and sits on the board for Open City Advocates. Yusuf is a Free Minds Poet Ambassador as well, who first joined the book club in 2017 while at the DC jail. Yusuf was released from federal prison in April 2025 after over 10 years of incarceration. Yusuf was an avid reader while incarcerated and shared his prolific writing with Free Minds. Since coming home, Yusuf graduated from the Shepherd's Arm Returning Citizens Reentry Boot Camp and participated in Free Minds Job Readiness Apprenticeship Program. Yusuf was recently appointed as the member representative for A Wider Circle, an anti-poverty organization that provides essential support for individuals and families in DC. Yusuf hopes to continue giving back to the community and dreams of starting his own nonprofit organization dedicating to support of formerly incarcerated men in reentry and fostering entrepreneurship. Now I will pass it back to you, Carlos.
Thank you, Sophia, and thank you, Yusuf, and Rob for being here tonight. To get started, Yusuf, we could get started with you. As Sophia was reading your bio, telling us more about yourself, 2017, that's a long time to be with Free Minds. If you could share with us a bit of what it means to you to participate in the Free Minds Book Club while you were incarcerated.
First of all, good evening. Thanks, Carlos. Thanks everyone for having me. Free Minds, I met them when I was at DC jail, and like you said, it was a while ago. And at that time, it was a very dark time for me. It was my first time being incarcerated, and I was battling with just a lot of things emotionally, mentally, being away from my family, not being used to being in this solitary confinement in this small room for over 20 hours a day. So Free Minds came through and they offered a program in which we could spend some time outside of our cells and join a group of people to discuss, a book that was chosen. Um, and initially, it was just an escape to get out of the cell. Um, but when I started to be a part of this group and read these books, I started to feel a sense of freedom. Even though I was in this confined place, and the activities we did kind of stretched my bounds, kind of stretched my comfortability, to do things I hadn't done before, like write poems, read books and share them and talk about them. And I wasn't really a avid reader before. So Free Minds kind of gave me the way to ironically free my mind in a time where I was physically engaged and mentally engaged.
Thank you. So I like how you say it expounded your bounds, your boundaries to bigger things, better things. And definitely reading and writing, I could relate, and it did the same thing for me as well. As a poet ambassador, Yusuf, we pretty much represent those that are not here with our voices, our story, and our face. You have a poem from one of our incarcerated women's book club member. Um, can you share that with us tonight, please?
I'll be happy to. Okay, the poem is called Me by LaShawn T. I would like to fly far away. In my own world, I would love to be. Outer space, I do it every day. I go in my room and lay back. I just go into another world. I have a peace of mind. I enjoy being free in the world in my mind.
Love that. Well read. What stands out to you about this poem, Yusuf?
Getting a peace of mind, being free. When she said being free in my own mind, you know, uh, and I can completely relate to her. I remember just whether it was me writing my own poems or me reading other people's poems, um, there is a way to actually be your body be physically um what am I looking for? Physically uh
Like incarcerated?
Free.
yeah, physically incarcerated. Yeah.
Yeah, your
Yeah,
body
you're
is
actually
physically incarcerated, but you free. Or your mind free.
exactly. Exactly. Rob, you're right on it. So I'm physically incarcerated. I'm physically within the bounds of these walls, but my mind is so free.
Mm.
And the way she just talks about things like outer space, just being in another place in my own world. And that's what you have to tend to do is read these poems, write these poems, put you in a place outside of outer body experience, if you will. So I completely relate to that poem.
Yeah, and as you read the poem, I was also thinking not just an incarcerated individual, but also a person that could be in freedom and incarcerated mentally. You know what I mean? How, they could seek that kind of freedom as well. You know what I mean? So it's like it goes a couple of different ways. Thank you, Yusuf. And you have an excerpt from one of your own poems to share with us tonight as well. The full poem is available in the tables that will be shared tonight for those that want to read the whole poem. But if you could read this piece for us.
I'll be happy to. Okay, so this is an excerpt from a poem I wrote called Holding Hands to the Finish. Holding hands to the finish, emotions entangled memories haunting the most vulnerable sweet dreams. Dreams of release, fresh air, holding on to free life's bittersweet. Sweet life being snatched while locked in Uncle Sam's cold steel box, boxed in and locked away, daring not to show emotions in the midst of brutal war. Evil grit, frown brows, and fit muscles, whilst deep down so scared how life can all just come to an end. Holding hands to the finish, finishing a polish that was scrapped as old decisions shaping a more defined precious gold. Gold and diamonds that have been pressed and molded by system pressures that define a process untold. untold stories molding a magnificent future of tomorrow, rewriting a new history and changing the odds of all folds.
Untold stories molding a magnificent future. I like that. That sticks out. Tell me, what inspired you to write this poem? Because this is a wonderful poem, very deep.
Um, you know, this poem, originally when I wrote it was supposed to capture a transition from, you know, what happens inside, what our mind goes through, the facade that we put up to mask the pain that we have inside, the fear that we have inside, the things that we're scared of, not only inside, but of what the future holds as far as going back into freedom. Um, and just a transition into what happens when we come out. There's so many things that happen inside, that are our deepest and darkest memories, but at the same time, all of those all of those constraints and those extraneous environments, they create and form the most precious of diamonds and gold. And that's why I use, because I remember hearing that diamonds are created through a lot of heat and pressure.
Mm.
And a lot of us come out, despite all of the negativity, we do transcend into something good after a long dark journey.
That's wonderful, you said, and I can relate to it in the sense that, so like my mother asked me the other day, like, Rob, like you did 30 years of incarceration, would you change any? Like, I feel as though like I did everything I supposed to did for you, and you just made some different decisions, and would you change anything? And so like now, after going through the 30 years, I can say, I wouldn't have changed anything. And it's because I feel as though like that made me who I am today. And so if I not went through those trials and tribulations and all those experiences, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I wouldn't like the person that I am today, knowing myself today. And so for you to say that, like the pressure part and how that molds diamonds, I feel as though I'm a diamond. And I feel as though like for me going through those situations and sitting on those cells and using that as my university and reading and writing and all those type of things, it has produced who I am today. And so, like, I basically concur with you saying, and I love that.
For
I
sure.
appreciate it. Thank you, Rob.
And I want to emphasize that not only are you speaking about yourself, you, Rob, and you, Yusuf, but also you speak for the many who have come home after so many years as jewels, as diamonds, as those shining stars, right, that are making a big difference in the community today. So thank you, Rob. Thank you, Yusuf, for sharing that. Sofia?
Yeah, thank you guys for sharing. I feel like I was nodding my head so hard because everything you're saying is just so like it's just so impactful and so inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing. Rob, I know that your son Roderick is also a Free Minds member, and I know I personally have read a lot of his poems. He's a very prolific poet. And I was wondering
My
if you
son.
could, yes, your son, yes, Roderick. And I was wondering if you could read one of his poems for us tonight, which I think is a good transition from Yusuf's poem.
So I'm reading a poem by my son. It's called "Hope for Better" by Roderick Bart. I hope for things that are yet to come. I look forward to the horizon. If I take a chance to look back, what would I see? I would see how I became to be. There is no time to dwell on the past. We can see times move extremely fast. If you don't watch where you're going, you'll surely crash. I can only focus on my future, which is not created on the computer, but is actual living. Think of what is in the distance. Focus on the sun yet to shine. Know that peace and victory will be mine. Keep hold of your hopes and dreams. Without them, what does life truly mean? Stay strong until the very end and hope to see you there, my friend.
Thank you so much for reading, Rob. I think I really appreciate how you're able to put words to or put a voice to Roderick's words. I think one of the things that sticks out to me is like how Roderick is using this poem to envision a better future and his idea of what that looks like. So I was wondering if you could share, one, how has writing helped you? And kind of along that same vein, how do you think writing helps you and others build towards a better future?
Well, so I was denied for, so I sat down here in this conference hearing from 10 a.m. this morning to kind of
Yeah.
like 5 about all these different bills that they trying to pass in DC that's against a lot of the mission that I advocate for every day. That's against a bill that's trying to repeal the bill that I've been released on, and it's basically against all of my ideals. And so when I'm thinking about like how this works for me or how this is therapeutic or writing helps me or and all those type of things, I'm thinking about how I was denied Ira 5 years ago and how this organization that I'm wearing on my chest right now came to be. And so I was denied Ira 5 years ago when I felt as though like I should have been released. And it was a trying time. Like you sitting up there every day with friends that you haven't seen in 10, 15 years since juvenile blocks and all those type of things. And you talking about like, yeah, we're gonna do this and we're gonna go to this basketball game, we're gonna do this, and you saying your family members, you saying all these type of things, and then everybody go home and you denied. And so that was like real tough for me. And so you can't, well, I'm not used to showing those emotions in those ways. So to me, it's like, you got denied, keep going forward, keep pushing. But my co-founder was like, "No, you got you like it's something you need to deal with." And so, right, once you start journaling, and so I started journaling about my feelings and how that felt. And what it was for me, it was therapeutic in the sense that it allowed me to release a lot of those feelings or anxieties or anger that I was feeling about my denial and about things that I was dealing with daily. And so that's kind of like how writing and poetry and all those things work for me. And I think that it worked for a lot of people. It's therapeutic, it's release valves, it's all those things that allow us to get steam off without exhibiting anger.
Yeah, definitely. That's very powerful. And thank you for sharing that, like your personal experience with how writing has helped you. And I think about how, you've used that personal experience to create a space where other people who are incarcerated and who are marginalized are able to use writing, um, for healing, but also to, like Roderick was saying in his poem, work towards a brighter future. So, yeah, thanks,
Yes, I
Rob.
mean,
Did you
like
want to add
me, he's my
something?
son, so I know what he's saying without saying a lot of
Right.
times through his
Yeah.
poetry. And so um I always prided myself on being a good father in the sense that I was there for him, but I wasn't there for him. So I try to do extra from prison because I wasn't there. I never been in the streets physically with my son. And
Yeah.
so had the opportunity while I was in the young men emergency unit to be with him.
Mhm.
And I understand that he felt, and one of my great prides about my son was that he wasn't in the streets. He was working a job. He had been working in like 5 years and all those type of things. So in a lot of ways, he felt as though like the situation that he's in, he don't supposed to be.
Mm,
And he's not fully accepting his role in what's going on. But at the same time, through his poetry, he's saying that I know that it's a better day coming and that I'm looking forward to that. And it's that hope that I will get to that day. And
yeah.
so this is his way of back to the therapeutic thing or conversations that we were just having of saying that I can deal with this because I know it's something better ahead. I can
Right.
deal
Yeah.
with this because I know that I'm gonna be better for going through this.
Yes, definitely. I like how you're able to add that, extra piece because he is your son and you know him so well. Yeah, and I think that hope part is definitely very, very powerful. And I know you also have another poem from one of our other members who's currently incarcerated, Andrew, and I was wondering if you could read it for us as well.
So this is titled "I'm Scared" by Andrew. I'm scared that I won't see you again. I'm scared that I will be misunderstood, or maybe I don't understand myself. That might be the scariest part, but maybe I do understand. Maybe I just have doubt. I'm scared of the unknown, but I have the courage to carry on.
Mm. Thank you, Rob. I think the poem definitely speaks to a lot of what you were just talking about how writing can, help people process their difficult emotions without maybe handling it in an unhealthy way. So I was wondering, what does this poem specifically mean to you? Like, is there anything that
I
sticks
mean,
out about it or anything you can resonate with?
one, it don't resonate with me, but it resonates with a lot of people that I've seen, that I've dealt with, that I know. I can understand their psychology, and
Mm,
so it's saying in so many words that I'm scared in a sense that, so I forget, the author is unknown, but basically what he's saying is that my greatest fear is knowing how great I can be, and I'm paraphrasing, right? And so for a lot of guys that's incarcerated, they have been told a lot of bad things about themselves and unconscious. You, that trauma and all the things you go through, you internalize that and you accept it as my station in life, or what I'm supposed to be, or how I'm supposed to act, and or the advancement that I can make in life. And so I always use as an example, this example. I have a guy who he's still incarcerated. He's been incarcerated probably like 30 some years now, 31 years now. And if you asked him about a GED or why he didn't get his GED and through all this time, he would tell you, like, I got a life sentence. Why should I get a GED? Like, what good is it
right.
going to do to me? It don't matter. But that may be the case, but it's a defense mechanism in the sense that, back to this point, that I'm scared. So, because of my educational history and all the things that I've been told about myself, intrinsically, I don't feel as though I have the intrinsic tools to get a GED. But when
Right.
given the incentive to do so, hour and all those type of bills, I go get a GED. And
Yeah.
so it's just that overcoming that fear and recognizing things about ourselves that we don't have the confidence to really recognize about ourselves, and people pointing to us, or we being put in positions to realize that we can do anything. We can accomplish goals that's higher than the mountains
Right.
is impactful and powerful. And that's what I see in that poem.
Yeah,
And if I,
definitely. I think your own experience definitely speaks to that. Oh, Yusuf, did you want to add something?
yeah, and I completely agree with you, Rod. And I feel, Rob, I feel like that fear also, when you unveil that fear off of a person, then it's able to allow you to spread your wings.
Exactly.
Um, because it puts you in a situation where it enables you from being able to grow. So once you're no longer fearful, you are able to see that your growth can be that much, you know, impactful, and you're more comfortable with yourself, and what you're capable of doing.
Exactly.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you both for sharing. I feel like in a lot of ways, writing can help people like unveil that fear and work through that fear and prove to themselves that they can create something and they can express themselves. So yeah, I know we have a million questions we could keep asking you both. So I'm gonna pass it to Carlos for a question that's relating to the activity that all of our participants are gonna do.
No, it's definitely like Sophia said, we could keep talking about this. I definitely just want to highlight how in all the poems, your son's poems, Yusuf poems, and the two members that you guys read it, how writing helps express emotions because it's not easy to, especially one. I'm not going to say incarcerated men, but incarcerated men and women have a way of just closing up, shelling up, and writing. As was read today, is a nice way to express those emotions. And here's another question in relation to the activity that is coming up next. To both of you, how important is it to receive mail while inside? Yusuf first.
Oh man, mail is a big deal. Having a connection with the outside world is a direct impact on how a person spends their time. And just to expand upon that, when a lot of people are, I mean, when we're closed off physically, but then closed off from the exterior world, that adds another layer of just kind of like being more in a shell. So it is a huge impact when somebody is able to uh get that communication, get that contact, still have that real world, that real life connection with the people on the outside, and it's invigorating. It's freeing, you know. And you know, when we get mail, when we get we can't receive phone calls, but when we get mail, when we get postcards, you know, the little things that you may take for granted, we know every detail, how the way the envelope smells, you know, the handwriting, every intricate detail of photos and pictures. And that love, I think that love resonates through those walls, it permeates those walls, and actually uplifts an individual that's kind of going through, you know, those hard times.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, I always revert back to it as a connector. It's a connector to the outside world. It makes you feel like I can be there or I am there. And so through letters, it's saying that like somebody when we talking about this word today, like, and so like I used to be in prison and I used to sit around and I used to be saying like, man, it don't take number 10 minutes to write a letter. Why you ain't writing? Like why you can't say X, Y, and Z to me? Like you just say how you doing, right? And so I get out here and I get this phone right here, and now my attention span is short, and I'm texting all day, and so I see like you work all day. No, mother used to tell me like, Rob, I work all day, I work at IRS, and when I get home, I don't want to see a computer no more. I don't want to write a letter. And so when you get these letters now, especially, but then it's like I'm not getting this. This is my connection to the outside world. This gives me a lens to what's going on in the world. It lets me know that somebody like cares or understand what I'm going through, or they feeling they empathize with me in certain ways. And it's all of those things combined in one, along with the fact that you took the time out your day to write.
Mhm.
And so you can really understand like writing is antiquated. Nobody does it no more. And so
Mhm.
when you take your time out a day, I remember when we was on the prep for this call the other day, and you said was talking about how um I might read a letter 4, 5, 6 times, and every time I read it, I find something new in the letter. When I'm locked down and the person that I don't know, and I just keep reading the letter outside of boredom, but just the connection of me meeting a new person or understanding something about a person, all those type of things is immeasurable. Like
Yeah.
that is immeasurable.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, just to expand upon that, and you want to keep reconnecting. So
Yeah.
it ends up being, like you said, that it's a direct connection. You when you go back into that cell, or when you go you know, back into that prison, you know, sometimes your escape is going back to that letter that was written for you, and it feels
Mhm.
good, and it's that mental, you know, release or freedom at that point in time.
Yeah, it's like that person takes you out there for a little bit. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
that's the word we use. They take you out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Take you
that's
out there.
exactly what we
Yeah.
use.
Yeah, take me
Take
out
me out there.
there.
And Rob, let me ask you this first. For those that are here for the first time tonight, as volunteers and about to give this feedback, what tips and advice do you have for them briefly?
You asked me first, correct?
Yes. Uh-huh.
The main tip I have is humanize the person. Like I got a letter from a person. I mean, I was on a call with some students one time, and we was talking about my petition, and everybody was asking me all these type of questions about my case or like this, that, and the third. And one just asked me like, "How you feel? How you doing?" And it hit in a different way because a lot of times, as a person that's doing time, especially when you're doing a lot of time,
Mhm.
subconscious you harden you in order to do a lot of time, subconscious you harden your heart to a lot of things. And so as an example of this, my grandmother died I think in like 2009, and my mother asked me on the call one time like, Rob, did you mourn grandma, did you cry? And I told her like, No, ma, I really didn't cry. I understand like people die. But today, being in society, I probably would have cried.
Mm,
And it's because I had deadened those emotions to deal with my situation. And it happens subconscious. You don't really realize that this is what's going on. And so through letter writing and dealing with people that you don't know and them showing their empathy or the person that just asked me like, "Are you all right?" It heightened
mhm.
that sense, that empathy, that emotion in myself to say, "Wow, like, am I really all right?" Because I would tell the person all the time, like you know, Carlos, or you know,
Yeah,
Yusuf, "Yeah, I'm all right. That's my go-to. I'm all right. I'm cool.
it's a
I'm
default.
always all right. That's how I fight depression that I'm under. I'm all right." And
Mhm.
so, like, but when it comes from the outside, you don't it shocked me in the sense that I realized that in some ways I'm not all right.
Yeah, that's great advice. Connection from one human to another. Yusuf, any advice or tips?
Um, Rob, I agree. It's like when you were talking and explain that, it made me think of like a defibrillator. I think that's what it's called when they, put the leads to your chest and bring your heart back.
Mm,
I feel like those letters that we get, those communication, those messages that we read from the outside, they bring us back to life because we do have a false sense of what is real and what's normal because our norms change with being in a different environment that has a whole different set of society norms. And those norms are healthy, and those norms are not normal at any standard, just for prison. um and so some tips that I'd have is, you know a lot of people may think, oh, I'm not really a great writer, or I'm not really a great reader, or I'm not a poet. It's really not about that. It's just being able to allow somebody to to know that they're being heard. That's it. It's
right.
I used to receive these letters, and I used to receive these letters, and I would feel like there was a crowd of people just reading my poem. I
Mhm,
never knew the poem that I wrote to Free Minds, that Free Minds then transcribed into something that was printed on paper, on a printer, typed up and printed, and then presented to a group of people that I don't even know. They don't even know me. I get the paper back, and it's just colors from different pens all over the paper, and I felt like I was being heard, and it felt great. It felt invigorating. It felt like I was brought back to life, and it said,
mhm.
you know what? Just like Rob said, maybe something is wrong. Maybe this isn't normal because this feels great. So back to answering your question, not to belabor the point, Carlos, but tips, just comment, just respond. Even if it's one word or two words, just allow the person to know that they're being heard, and that would be my advice.
Thank you, Yusuf. And I know, again, we could keep talking, and there's so much we could say.
Mm.
Sophia, do we have time for any other questions?
Yeah, I think we can do one question because we do have a couple from the audience. We'll answer one, and then Robert and Yusuf, if you want to answer the other one and type your answer, you're more than welcome to. But the first question, and unfortunately the only one we have time for, is it can be so hard to stay hopeful. What brings you hope for better? And either of you can answer first.
Hmm. What brings me hope for better today? So I'm looking at the chat and I'm seeing Julie and Tara talk about the hearings that we sat through aggressively today. And what gives me hope for better? I just got to believe that it's something better out there than what I heard in the hearings today. I got to believe that um, the work that I'm doing, the message that I'm putting out there, the writing that I'm doing, that everything that I'm fighting for, my whole being has a purpose.
Mm.
And because it has a purpose, then it got to be something better because I'm fighting for something better. And so that's kind of like what keep me go on and putting one foot in front of this other. I always go back to like one of my favorite books, but is highly up there. Is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, and so it's about um, Jewish Nazi camp victims who are in a concentration camp, and they are basically subjugated and incarcerated under worse conditions than I can ever imagine. With me doing 30 years. But those that survive have hope. They have wives that they want to get back to. They have children they want to get back to. They have dreams and ideals of a world that they're not seeing today. But because they had these dreams and ideals of these family members or these different ideologies or visions of hope, they are able to keep putting for one foot in front of the other to get to that. And it keeps them going. And so like that's my mission, that's my calling, that's everything that I have in my being, and so that's what gives me hope.
Yeah, thank you for that, Rob. What about you, Yusuf? What brings you hope for better?
Um, there were so many people inside that had more time than me, had more time than what I was sentenced, had been doing triple. Look at Rob, he's done 30 years. That's a third of you know, what I did. So I used to look at these individuals and like you said, they didn't give up. You can't give up. You have to have a vision. You have to stay focused and know that trials and tribulations are going to happen. That's just how it is. You're going to get hurdles, but these hurdles are going to make you stronger. They're not, it's just changing your mindset that these are not failures, but these are just lessons learned, and this is what gives me the drive to keep moving forward.
Mm,
It's just I think it's very uh naive to think that, things are just the life's just going to be a smooth road. You just got to keep pushing forward. And I do have hope to make a change in the criminal justice system,
yeah,
to have rehabilitation look different than what it looks now, because it's more
yeah,
penile than rehabilitation. And
yeah,
and that's kind of, I want to do my own thing, and I want to actually be able to reach out and help people while they're incarcerated, just the way Free Minds does now, because that rehabilitation, at least for those who have already been incarcerated, starts then. You can't
yeah,
wait till you get out.
Mm.
It has to start then. And that hope, that window of hope needs to open while you're in those locked cells, so that you have something to drive you towards to the finish line and carry you on. Even when you're outside, you still have to have hope. You still got to drive forward. You got to be resilient. And you just can't give up. It's not an option.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
so
definitely.
a lot of the times, sorry, one more thing. A lot of the times is, sometimes we have to look at the people that appear to be doing worse off than us, so that
Hmm.
we can value our blessings. Because sometimes we overlook the small things, but there's a lot of things that, that we should be thankful for. And that's
Yeah.
everybody.
Definitely. Thank you both. And I don't want to cut you both off, but we do need to get to the feedback piece so, our members on the inside can get their feedback. But I appreciate both of you for sharing that. That was very powerful. So I'll pass it back to you, Carlo.
Yes, thank you both. Definitely a good conversation. Before we go into the tips and tricks on how to use our digital platform Miro, just want to tell you a few ways to get involved. Uh, please support DC's autonomy so that DC residents and our elected officials can control our own laws, like the Incarcerated Reduction Amendment Act, also known as IRA, especially for our friends outside of DC. Please call your representatives or senators and urge them to vote no on any legislation targeting DC laws and DC autonomy. One of our laws is Incarceration Reduction Amendment Act, also known as IRA, which has a transformative impact on which has had a transformative impact on some of us here tonight, as well as hundreds of other members and their families and communities. See the link that will be in the chat to make sure you get to know how to get involved. Also, you could join our Free Minds website, and there are other ways you could join us as well. If you want to support our work, you can donate also on our website. Go on our website. Anything helps, even if it's $1, that's enough to send our members their feedback so it could be returned to them. So here's our quick little feedbacks and how to use our Miro platform. The first tip is the arrow. The arrow opens the door and lets you move around, and you can start writing. You can enlarge the poems with the zoom at the bottom right of the screen. Hit the plus or the minus. If it looks blurry, just wait for a second. It'll clear up. The T on the right is the easiest one, most common. Is T for text, and just click on it, and then go to the poem and that you're trying to comment on, and just start typing. You can scroll to the right for more poems. And finally, put the poem's first name, the poet's first name, as you address them, and also in by using your first name. This is like that human connection, communication, as Rob mentioned as he was talking. There are two there are two mirror tables in each. And each one has different poems. So be sure to check them all out. The first page here on the mirror board has links and access to the other tables. Miro works best on your computer or tablet. If you're using your phone, we recommend using this Google document with the poems. The link will also be in the chat. And if there's and here on the first page of the Miro table, you will also find the link to that Google document as well. If you have any questions or need support, you can call our staff until 8:30 p.m. tonight, and that number will also be in the chat. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Sofia?
Yeah, thank you so much for those tips, Carlos. And thank you all for coming, to all of our amazing participants. And thank you times a million to Rob and Yusuf for sharing tonight. And yeah, just being very inspiring and impactful. So yeah, like Carlos said, please click the link in the chat to read poems on the virtual tables to continue with the next part of Write Night and get that feedback to our members. Please enjoy the poems, and we look forward to seeing you all at our next Write Night. We'll be closing this Zoom momentarily, so please click the link in the chat if you haven't already to start reading and responding to the poems. Thank you all again, and I hope everyone has a wonderful night. Bye,
Good evening,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you.